All right, back with Zio. We've been talking about their latest double live album, fantastic album. Um, I do want to. We're going to sort of jump through the songs because we don't want to go over every single song, and we don't want. And we want you to get out there and buy it so you can actually listen to it. But let me just ask about Golden Power, something that everyone has an interest in.
Oh,
But yeah, go ahead and
Yeah.
talk about that
Golden
one.
Not
Power.
not the song, the
Just
actual Golden.
Well, that too, yeah.
some backstory, but anyway. So Golden Power. There's quite a few things to say actually on this one, but I would say for me, uh, I guess I would let Mark talk about the writing because there's some fun fact about this song. But
Yeah,
I would talk about just the fact that this one is Frank Carducci singing, and that was for me a good experience. So we basically Frank and I. So you know Frank Carducci, don't you,
Yes,
Mark?
well,
Yeah.
the
Um,
synthesizers were absolutely
everyone knows them anyway. Um, so yeah, so Frank is a good friend of mine and of the whole band, um, and so basically he was doing an album at the time, and we kind of basically said, "I'll play on your album and you play on mine," kind of thing. Um, and so the whole experience for me was really nice. So we started with so I was just sending him a few track, not a few track. Yeah, actually, because he did a few things, but this was his main track. So I was handing him the demo of this song, and he sent a few things, and I was like, oh yeah, that sounds good. But Frank always want to be in a room. Basically, he's kind of like very like kind of
hands on.
yeah, like a I was gonna say vintage way of doing things, but like he didn't like doing it remote. Um, so it happened that he was traveling in London, and then I would just got together in a studio, and then I recorded him, and it was just fantastic session. I really enjoyed that session. He did a really good job and stuff. And so for the writing, I guess yeah, Mark, if you wanna.
yeah. Trying to remember exactly. It's been a while. I mean, the main thing is so that song is really the in the first album. It's the first time we introduce that character that Frank plays, and that's
Yeah,
time the bad guy of the story.
yeah,
And in terms of the writing, I think we were trying to do a little bit like because obviously everything's a concept. Is to have build it a little bit like a soundtrack where the bad guy has a bunch of themes attached to it. So there's if you listen to the album, there's a few melodies and some chords that are in Golden Power that you can hear later in other songs. Like in Jupiter, there's the chorus of Jupiter is kind of more or less built around the same melodies and the same chord progression because it's related to the character. So we try to do a little bit of that kind of orchestral kind of give a theme to each character, and as they come in and out of the various songs, just at least have a little nod to each of those characters so that you can. It's the concept is not like super present, like it's not super on the nose, but we try to put a little clues here and there to just into it and try and listen to it at that layer. There's like hints of what's going on, I guess, with the different characters. And yeah,
All
then
right.
Funk just killed it with his vocals, and I couldn't resist playing little guitar lines in between.
The, those were the ones I was going to talk about, although I do love Suburbs Attack too on the first CD. Are there any ones on the first CD, and then we'll move to the second, that you guys want to talk about?
Well, I guess X-Ray is probably the
I
song
think
that.
actually
Oh,
second
the second
CD.
CD. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
The one that I quite
First
like
album.
on the
Yeah.
first CD, to me that's quite special to me is Flower Torania. Is the because we on the
Oh, yeah.
first album it's actually played quite different. Like the way it's all the arrangements are with accordion and so on, which has a nice backstory to it. It's actually Jimmy's uncle playing the accordion. And then during lockdown, I don't know, since we started that, we wrote that song. In my head, I could hear like a gypsy jazz version of it. I'm not quite sure why. Like I love gypsy jazz. I've been playing and
Yeah.
listening to a lot of that kind of thing. And then lockdown happened, and we're all bored to death at home, not being able to do anything. And I don't know, I kind of randomly just ended up in my garden, like dressed up like a gypsy person with the hat and everything, just playing the song and putting it on YouTube and recording it with the idea of putting it on YouTube. And then I asked, Jimmy and Olivier and whether they would also kind of play along and do their bit. And then we just released it on YouTube. And the little funny story with that is my dad also really likes gypsy jazz. So I sent him the link with the YouTube video. And he's been listening to it quite a lot. And I'm not quite sure he understands really how YouTube works. Because now every time he fires up YouTube, I'm on the front page with that. And he thinks I'm really famous because I'm all over YouTube.
That's awesome.
It breaks my heart to tell him. So I've not told him that I'm actually not really famous. I'm just kind of entertaining the illusion.
Good. Well,
There you go.
hey, it's always nice when your dad's proud of you. That's good. All right. On the second CD, and I know I'm not going to do well with this, but it's in French. Ma petite histoire.
Oh yeah, ma petite histoire.
Was that okay?
Yeah, yeah,
good, actually. Yeah,
actually.
Isn't this the one that Heather sings, if I remember correctly?
Yeah.
And she does
sings
sing it
on
in French, if I'm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A few French lines, yeah.
Yeah.
Huh?
So yeah, ma petite histoire is all in
English.
French, is it?
No, there's it's mixed.
Oh, that's from English.
Yeah,
I wrote
it
in-
starts in
I wrote
English and
in-
then the middle bit is in French.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
she
my
says
heart feels
something in
brief-
French,
brief
yeah.
hope, yeah. So well, this one is quite personal for me actually. But I mean, like the way it started actually is we were on tour, so I can't remember actually which tour, but I remember Olivier and Mark. So Olivier was staying with Mark,
Yeah, yeah,
and you did the thing, and then because it was at the time we didn't have the album, obviously, yeah, because it wasn't out yet, and
yeah, I think we came
I don't know how
back
we
from
came up with it.
either gig or one of the
That's
recordings.
from straight up from underneath, isn't it? Da-da-da-da-da-da.
It's it's that, and there's a bit of it's based on an old song that Olivier and I wrote like years and years ago, like back in France. We had like a little kind of melody, and then after the gig we're home. It's probably like 1 or 2 a.m. in my little like home studio, and we start playing, and then I don't know, it just came out. Like I think what's on the album is actually what we recorded. Like there's some of the keys
Yeah, I
that he
think we
played
kept some of the
that we kept for the final thing. It literally just popped out in 10
It
minutes.
was just so good, and I think we kept it as it was. It was just like a 1 minute. Normally when
Yeah.
you do writing for songs, often you just do 1 minute and you're like, oh, we'll develop later.
Flesh it,
But we just kept it as it was, and so to come back to the beginning of Zio, the reason why I used Zio is when I became an uncle basically, and Zio means uncle in Italian.
Oh,
So if you listen to the original, there is my niece. The reason why, because my niece is calling me Zio, and you can hear her talking, saying Zio, Zio. She actually said no,
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't remember what she was saying no, but
she didn't want to
Um,
be on the album?
yeah, she was.
Didn't ask my permission.
But yeah, anyway, so that's why it's obviously quite personal to me, this one, and all the thing with the story of the album, like saving that little girl, obviously, but it's not like me saving my niece, but there's obviously some little bits of that kind of in the story.
All right. And then probably one of my favorite songs is the Flower Tirania, because at the beginning, and let's see what you guys think, at the beginning, it just took me back to Army Dreamers from Kate Bush. You
All
guys you ever heard that song before? The beginning of it? Well, if you haven't,
I mean, I
anything
heard the
by
song,
Kate,
but I wouldn't tell.
anything by Kate Bush is gold. And lately, she's in the news more than
Yeah,
when they're actually
with,
performing. But yeah, if you get a chance to listen to that song itself, Army Dreamers. I don't remember which album it's off of, but yeah.
Oh yeah. I don't know if you can hear. Sorry, nothing.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
That's the beginning.
Um,
But
Oh, yeah, I see what you
no,
mean.
But
you're not-
anyway,
I
yeah.
know you didn't.
So-
I know you didn't
Wait,
copy her. I know you didn't copy her because you didn't know what the song was. But it has
The,
that feeling, and Lately, when you hear something like that, I don't know if you guys know who the Blackheart Orchestra is, but
Mhm.
they just put out a single, and I was like, "Oh my God, that's Kate Bush."
Yeah.
There's another reference of something quite similar that when we wrote Flautoenia, it reminded me of. There's a track on Saga's Security of Illusion album that
Oh
has
yeah,
this kind of fanfare kind of theme at the back. I think it might be the opener or the closing track. There's like a little ambience track in the background, and it has that kind of vibe with the accordion and everything. So the original version of Flautoenia really always reminds me of that.
and
So
a shout out to Mr. Sadler. He's been really going through some tough times.
Yeah, I saw on Facebook. I've not seen like latest development. I hope he's all right. Like that seemed pretty worrying. I hope he's okay.
Yeah, I hope he's okay. Yeah, you guys know who Saga is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Oh,
a
okay.
huge fan.
No, I mean I know you did, Mark, but the other two, no, Saga. I've got all their albums or most of their albums. The one I didn't get, and I wish I had, was the one where they do the where they put all the songs together in a story.
Oh, the all the Easter eggs ones all put together. I don't have that one either. But yeah.
What's that one called? They on every single album they put like or one or two tracks that told this deep story, and they finally put them all together and did a concert, and then put out a album. And I miss that one, but and now you can't get it. I actually asked him, I don't know, 5, 10 years ago, would you guys do it again? And you
mm,
know, at that time he was like slowing things down, and no, we're not going to do that,
It's a
which
bit
is
like the
but
Black
anyway,
Noise
let's come
Shattered
back to your
Fortress. It's the
song.
same concept.
We got off of your song. We are talking about Kate Bush, but that it sort of also reminds me of that Karnataka album that I was talking about. This Flower Tirania. What was the sort of inspiration for that?
so
Well, that's the song that Mark was explaining about
yeah.
the gypsy jazz.
So like, but to
Oh,
go
okay.
back to the beginning of when we wrote that song, so there's quite a few. So basically, this song is the way it's been written is so the opening track of the album Flower to Anya is called Ride Along. So I did that little introduction, which is kind of again when I do writing, it often sounds a bit like Beatles to be honest, because I do the
Yeah.
chords. I'm not a keyboard player, so and basically I told Olivier I was like, it'd be nice if you could do something different with that, and we could use it for to close the album. And he just sent because Olivier is kind of like that. When you have an idea, he would just write a whole thing, all the instruments and stuff. And he did that version very like so in 3/4. So the original one's in 4/4. So suddenly we have that waltz going on, and and yeah, I was like, oh, that's amazing. So the two things I really wanted, and so that was my producer hat. I was like, okay, so now I can see where we can take this track. Um, so I was like, I would love to have our dear friend Charu doing the orchestration. So Charu from Karnataka. I don't know if you know him. He
It
was the keyboard
sounds
player.
familiar. Yeah, I mean,
Tozloglu. Sorry if I say it badly, but so he did the orchestration on that.
okay.
And like Ma
Yeah.
said earlier, my uncle. So because obviously that would have waltz going on, and then I really wanted to put a little bit more French vibe to it, basically. And my uncle, which is the one that taught me music when I was 5 years old,
Wow.
he so he saw I always saw him playing accordion basically when I was a kid, and I was like, oh, I would love if my uncle could play on one of the try, and especially this one. And so, but like, I'm trying to make this short, sorry, but like, I was like, um, this, like, Can you record accordion? Because that must be hard to record, like to put microphone in front of it and stuff. And he's like, I don't know, let me try some things, and I don't have a recorder anymore, so because like, he's not really musician, like professional musician. He just does like he's a teacher, but he's retired now anyway. So it was like, I'll try some beats and stuff. And I was like, and he sent me another message like a month after or something. Oh, I have an electric accordion, so I can try with that. I was like, okay, yeah, go for it. And then another 2 weeks, 3 weeks pass, and then one day I just received a track, and he's like, "Oh, listen to this. Tell me what you think about it." And I was thinking, "Oh, bless him. He probably doesn't have anything to record. I'm not sure if I'll be able to use that on the album because I don't know if it's going to be good on terms of quality." It was just amazing. It's just
Perfect.
like what he sent was just so good, and literally, seriously, I must admit I had my little tear going on this one because I was just like, this is so good. I was just listening to it like this, and then it's like amazing. And I just had to put it on the record. I don't think I did much to it in terms of EQ and stuff. It was just sounding super good.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah,
And you got him involved in your album. That's great.
yeah,
That-
exactly. Yeah,
It's a way of giving back. That's fantastic.
yeah, that's it.
Glad you did that. Okay, I think Haley wanted to talk about X-Ray.
Yeah.
I just to kind of point out that it was the first single that Zio released as a full like vocal led band like lineup. It's got a really cool video if you people want to check it out on YouTube. It's still probably one of my favorite music videos that we've done.
Yeah.
So it's
Thanks.
just a big fun track really.
And
This is
with
the
this,
original track we wrote together with Mark and Olivier, actually.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah,
you know
I was
the story when I said the beginning of Zio when we got together and started writing songs? This is the first one we did.
and
yeah,
with this interview, at the bottom of the interview, I've got a bunch of YouTube links. If I miss that or if I missed any, just send me a message and I will get those in there.
Thanks. Yeah,
But
for
I
sure.
but I think I have a bunch of my, I can't remember exactly, but there's a lot of them.
Okay.
Okay, Knife's Edge. I was thinking Genesis and definitely didn't go in that direction, but what talk about that song a little bit.
right. Yeah, so that's the kind of improv that just follows the Irwin's opera. So that's the reason it's titled like that is to me at least personally every evening when we play it and we get to that bit because it's largely improvised. Like we know and we know little bits of it, but it's largely kind of we play it by ear and we just kind of go for it. There's always this kind of every evening is he going to be good or not? Like because we kind of make it up on the spot, and sometimes there's good days where you have lots of ideas and you can kind of go somewhere and it feels nice, and then some days it's a bit more. You have to kind of work a bit harder to try and make it good. So there's this, you never quite go how good it's going to end up being, but therefore the title.
All right, and I almost forgot to say, I think ELP had a song with either Knife's Edge or something similar to that. Okay, we're running out of time. Is there any other tracks, any of them, first, second CD you guys wanted to specifically talk about?
I probably also mentioned Close.
Alright.
Because again, there's a really beautiful music video
is.
if people want to check that out. If you can listen to the live version and the studio version, it's probably my favorite Zio song. I think the melody is super beautiful. I think thanks to Olivier. It is also, unfortunately, the hardest song to sing. It is definitely, and they always put it at the end of the night, so it's the one I can't just do it and think, oh, that's done. I have to wait till the end of the night. Yeah, the most beautiful, but definitely the hardest to sing. It's probably the biggest challenge of being in Zio. More so than any of the bands that you mentioned I was in earlier. It's like Zio is very difficult, challenging music. It definitely makes you work hard, keeps you on your toes. It's not straightforward. It's constantly changing time signatures and evolving, and yeah, it's definitely you have to be on your really on the ball to be in Zio. And Close is definitely one that's challenged me as a singer. But it's also
Probably
And
one of the
Go ahead.
proggiest as well, I would say.
I'm sorry.
There's a lot going on. There's a lot of
Yeah.
weird time signatures and instrumental parts and breaks, and yes, it's quite a complex track for sure.
So, like, just to say as a general thing, actually, not especially this track, but on this track anyway, there's a video. And in terms of, so the videos is actually quite an important part as well as in the band. So you probably saw a few, Mark, but
Yes.
like, we often work on them actually. This is just Mark and I working on them actually, and it's also something that I really enjoy doing, like trying to find a concept to it. And in this one, for example, is so there's a aerial hoop artist
Yep.
called Joanna Diaz, person I met like 10 years ago when I moved to London, and I don't know, I always wanted to work with her. And then the concept of second album was like the true waves, those things, those shapes that is going around us and stuff. And I was like, why wouldn't we just represent those shapes instead of doing something crazy sci-fi,
Yeah.
just representing them with a person basically.
Good
So
idea.
that's why Joanna is on all the videos. So she's basically the true wave. And yeah, so that video was really interesting to make as well. It's like there's so many things to think about when you do a real hoop, and it was so interesting and very impressive to see as well. Being in a room, seeing her doing all those things. I mean, we don't really see as much because obviously there's some close-ups and stuff, but when you're in the room and you see everything going on and the structure moving, and she does that like 2 meters high, and
Yeah.
it's
It
basically
is incredible.
dangerous, like so. Yeah. So and then you mentioned X-ray video, which is also like very important video. So yeah.
The Space Eater one was fun as well. For Space Eater we did mocap, and that happened during lockdown. So Jimmy and I ended up in a mocap studio, obviously playing our instruments, but also I think I pretend to play keyboards. Jimmy plays the bass as well, and we both did some mocap kind of for the vocals and the singing performance, while not being able to sing. So that was interesting. And then yeah, everything got put together in CG, and that was quite fun as well to do.
All
Quite
this
different.
stuff is so interesting. I mean, Mark and I, we love doing this, and we are lucky enough to work with Miles Carring from Crystal Spotlight. So he's done a lot of like big stuff. I don't know if you heard of them, but they did
Yeah.
Steven Wilson, they did Haken, he did Devin Townsend, Dream Theater. So like, but
Hey,
he's just very simple and like he likes
works with
Zio
the
and all
best.
this. Yeah. So pretty cool. Oh, we have 5 minutes left, so I don't know if you want to crack on with all the stuff.
Yeah. What I was going to ask you next is and you've already had some shows, obviously, and what's ahead for Zio as far as performances? And then I think you're also working on the next album. So go ahead and cover those two items.
So trying to make this short. So the yes, we are working just out. I mean, like I've been thinking of a concept for quite a long time now. It was hard for me to put together, but like I wrote everything down now. So this is getting there, and then with Mark, we started sending out some tracks. I started writing again. So that's kind of where we are. But it's still early stages, so we can't really say. I hope we could do like maybe in 2026 release, but we see how we get on with that. In terms of touring,
We just finished. We literally
yeah, we
just
just finished the
finished the
tour.
tour for the year.
So we try to do at least to go out once a year. But coming out of this tour, we got some really good feedback, which was
It went
really
really,
nice
really
to
well.
hear. Yeah, it went really well. And we got some offers for festivals, but for now, obviously, it's the logistics around it that we're trying to organize. So hopefully, we can do a few festivals and maybe another little tour. But for now, it's nothing that we can announce because nothing completely confirmed, let's say.
And so that would be 25, right? Be
25,
done
yeah,
for the year.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, yeah, you've already done quite a bit, and
Yeah.
we already talked about what Haley's doing. Okay, so let's just come back, and the final thing was just if you wanted to mention anything else that you're doing outside of Zio, let everyone know what's going on there.
Well, I'll jump in, just because of when your show is going out. The Heliographics band are going out on tour in about 2 weeks' time. So if there's any kind of UK fans listening in, we're going to be in Southampton, St Helens, the Robin and the Bilston at Wolverhampton, and up in Edinburgh at Kinross, in October and November. And I'm going to be singing with Io Earth and the Heliographics band. So you get a double whammy of
You get
Haley. I'm sorry about that. So
Are you
that's our touring for the rest of the year.
are you working on a new Haley Griffiths album or
Again,
stuff?
we're early stages, a few things in the works, but yeah, it's been a very busy year of tour for all of us, like touring with different bands, different projects and things. It's been a more of a gigging year than a writing year, but I think 2025 is going to be less touring, more writing.
And by the way, she had 2 albums, so you're gonna do the both sides type
Yeah.
on your in that show.
Yes, so some of the shows will be a mix of all the albums, and then the festivals will be kind of a bit more geared towards like my rock Melanie album. Yeah, each show is gonna be quite different because we've got lots of different set lengths coming up in all these shows. So we'll definitely be playing pretty much everything from both albums across the tours.
Mark?
As I said, I mean, Zio is really the priority, and I don't really have any kind of other projects ongoing at the moment. So I think to me it's going to be kind of rounding up lots and lots of ideas that, you know, I tend to gather. Like, I play guitar pretty much all the time outside of work, so I've got my phone full of riffs and ideas and little bits and pieces that need to be kind of organized and shaped into songs. That's going to be, you know, I'm looking forward to using the downtime to do some of that, and then getting started on the new record.
Well, that one that you were talking about that you're been working on for years, I definitely
Oh yeah,
hear it.
yeah. So
Don't
it's
forget
actually
this. Don't forget to send it to me when you're done.
yeah.
I'd
We've
like
got
to-
you know what? I'll send you a link. We've got one track out actually. We've finished one track as a almost like as a proof to ourselves that we can do it. So that one is out there. And yeah, now it's really just the matter of just recording everything and getting it mixed and engineered. And yeah, I'll share a few bits and pieces. It's interesting. It's singing is all in French, so it's I guess that takes just like based on that. There's already like it sounds slightly different than, you know, what we're doing with you, just because of that bit. Something I forgot to mention is in that project, Olivier is also part of that project. So the original keyboard player. I met him years and years ago, and he was part of that band back in France. So we're still working together on that one.
No
I think
problem
we're gonna
doing.
get cut off, aren't we?
Yeah, we're gonna get cut off now.
Yeah, but just real quick, Solventus also just released an album, mostly French lyrics, and it was beautiful. So don't worry about that. We will still listen to the music. We won't understand what you're saying, but you can get the feeling for most of it. So yeah.
Cool.
Well, hey guys, thank you very much
Thank you so much,
Thanks so much,
Hania.
Mark.
Thank
It's wonderful.
you.
Stay with me
Thanks for your
just a
time.
minute when this thing runs out. But hey, Zio, get this album, get out there
Thank you.
to watch her shows. More new music coming. They're fantastic, and you can see they're a lot of fun just being with